I'd like to call the Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 Papillion City Council meeting to order. Ms. Butler, would you please take the roll?
Florence, Mumgard, Gaines, Glover, Jaworski, Klug, Stubbe, Ingberg.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. And do we have a copy, do we have an affidavit of publication on file?
That is correct.
And a current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the council chambers. Mr. Hoynes, Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Begin my report this evening with a brief update on the Community Center. Connect that with the informational session that's going on tomorrow evening. You should have received some correspondence today from our communications manager, Trent Albers. He and I have been working to figure out how to keep you folks in the loop and the community in the loop on this really massive, fast-moving project. And so that was our attempt. What we've done is we've split this into really three major components going on right now with the community center. You got the Lincoln Road improvement. Certainly it's going through design, has already been to committee one time to get some input. Has an informational session tomorrow evening where we mailed out 300 letters to people within 300 feet. Mr. Thompson and I have actually met with people that are really directly impacted. The American Legion, the Methodist Church, had face-to-face meetings with those folks, anticipating the impact of their properties. We have the selection of the construction manager process. I think I updated you a couple of days ago. On that process, there's 4 council members that raised their hand and volunteered to help us with that selection process. That will conclude in September with a recommendation to the full council, getting some RFPs in. And then finally, the site plan, the acquisition of the Emmanuel property, I think is moving with hopefully within the next 45 days or so we can close that and firm up. But there's some shifting that goes in with fields based on interviews with users and some other things. So I would really encourage you as elected officials to use that as your plug-in with these questions. And if you see something that you don't understand or you think maybe we should add, just really encourage you to please give me a call, and I can work with the design team and those others involved to plug you into that. One final comment on that topic: the informational session on the Lincoln Road improvements was placed on the calendar prior to the council meeting that ended up getting scheduled last night. So it's scheduled for 6 o'clock in this room. We don't have any idea what our attendance. We've really received very limited direct feedback that we may have. Again, we mailed out 150 letters to people. We may have a really packed house. So the design team, Mr. Thompson, the architect primarily, will be presenting that information tomorrow evening. At the advice of our stellar city clerk, she came in and suggested last week that it would leave the option for all the council to attend if she went ahead and published that as a public meeting. So even if you didn't respond and you wanted to come tomorrow evening, that's been published, the 6 o'clock, as a public meeting. If it runs over, Mayor Black has suggested that at 7 o'clock we would adjourn. We only have one agenda item, or we would delay the informational session, have one agenda item, do that as a council adjourn, and then just continue on for that. So we were going to combine those. One final thing I did send, I think you all, an email this weekend. We've had our challenges with Papillion Bay this summer. That's been well documented. But the effort that those folks put forth in saving those 3- and 4-year-old, and I say that literally, not figuratively, in saving the life, those lifeguards and the citizens. I don't know if you actually clicked on the link to see the interview. Lieutenant Young did an excellent representative job of saying this is really when training kicked in for these folks. Observant people in the pool, people just being at the right place at the right time, literally saved the lives of a 3- and a 4-year-old. And so we're trying to figure out some way, and we will, to recognize them. But with all the struggles they've had with their pool this summer, I think the fact they stayed in there, they deserve some special recognition. And we'll get their names to you actually at some point. I think it would be very meaningful if they heard from council members on that appreciation. So that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Klug. Second by Councilman Gaines. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item D1, Ordinance 1737, an ordinance to annex certain real estate to the city of Papillion, Nebraska, and to provide for an effective date thereof. This is the Metro Community College and adjacent Highway 370 right-of-way. Is there a council member that will introduce? Introduced by Councilwoman Klug. Item D2, Ordinance 1738, an ordinance to change the official zoning map of the city of Papillion in accordance with Section 20532 of the Papillion Municipal Code to adopt a zoning map and to apply existing or future zoning regulations, property use regulations, building ordinances, electrical ordinances, plumbing ordinances, and all other regulatory ordinances of the city of Papillion pursuant to Nebraska Revised Statute 16901 and to provide for an effective date. Is there a council member that will introduce? Introduced by Councilman Stubbe. Thank you. Item D3, Ordinance 1740, an ordinance to amend in its entirety Chapter 92, Article 3, Section 15 of the Papillion Municipal Code, having to do with the adoption of International Residential Code, IRC, International Building Code, IBC, International Energy Conservation Code, IECC, International Fuel Gas Code, IFGC, International Plumbing Code, IPC, International Mechanical Code, IMC, and the International Existing Building Code, IEBC, and to provide for an effective date. Is there a council member that will introduce? Introduced by Councilman Jaworski. Thank you. Item D4, Ordinance 1745, an ordinance to adopt the budget statement to be termed the annual appropriation bill to appropriate sums for necessary expenses and liabilities and to provide for effective date. This is the 2016-2017 fiscal budget. Is there a council member that will introduce? Introduced by Councilman Ingberg. Thank you. Item F1, Resolution R160096. This is a public hearing and a vote. A resolution to approve a Class I liquor license for Julie Mabin-Durrill and John Isbilar, doing business as Karen's Fireside, 1214 North Monroe Street, Papillion, Nebraska. It is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing and I'll call for proponents. I will note that the applicant is here. If you want to come up and make a commercial, it is a public hearing. Maybe share a little bit about what you're doing.
Okay. Hello.
And if you'd state your name for the record.
Sure. Hello, I'm Julie Mabin. We just recently purchased Karen's Fireside here in Papillion. It's a wedding, social hall, banquet, and catering. And we're here to have our liquor license activated under my name. This business has been in Papillion for probably 20 years, so we're going to keep the tradition alive.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other proponents? Do we have any opponents? I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution R160096? Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilman Glover. Any council discussion? Please vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Thank you. Item F2, Resolution R160102, a resolution to approve a request to dedicate street right-of-way for a portion of East 3rd Street, abutting Tax Lot 31, Section 26, Township 14 North, Range 12 East, Sarpy County, Nebraska, for an extension of a gas main serviced by Black Hills Energy. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R160102? Motion. Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilman Stubbe. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
That's all the regular agenda items. We did have a couple of committees meet. Public Safety Committee met tonight. Mr. Glover.
Yes, Mayor, we did meet tonight, and we actually had some pretty good discussion, almost an hour of looking at our noise ordinance and how we might address that to make some changes. And I think we've come together to some consensus, and we'll be moving in the next meeting or two, be moving some ordinance changes to address those. So.
And that's in relation to noise ordinances in downtown?
Yeah, for the overlay district.
Thank you very much. F&A committee also met and reviewed the annexation materials, and they did give the positive recommendation to proceed with that. Move to comments from the floor. I'd like to call Andrew Rainbolt up. He's with us tonight. If you're not aware, Andrew is the Executive Director of Sarpy County Economic Development. Just real quick, Andrew, because we do televise this, and it's always a good time for education. People not familiar with the partnership, if you're sitting down in Florida and you think of Omaha, that's really a big dot on the map that covers about 8 counties. I think it's 8 counties, including 2 in Iowa, I believe. So Fremont, DeKalb County, Mills County, and Pottawatomie County and all of that. Anyway, if you're looking to relocate a business or the area is trying to recruit, at that point they don't know cities and counties, and so the GO partnership it really looks for that big map and just tries to get us on the radar and have companies come to the big dot. Once there's a lead, then you can start figuring out which county it probably makes sense to belong in. And every county then has its own economic development corporation under the partnership, and so it's a real natural handoff from the partnership to the county economic development, and the applicant really doesn't know that handoff occurs. And then at that point, the county's economic development really doesn't care about jurisdictional boundaries. They just want to find the right site. And then if it starts landing in the city, then we move in there. And it's a great partnership, and Andrew's the Executive Director of the Sarpy County Economic Development. So, long-winded intro. Thank you.
It was very accurate intro. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of serving this position for a little over a year now, and it's been very exciting. And I grew up in Papillion and La Vista, so it's great to be able to represent this area. And thank you for your support of Sarpy County EDC. And I apologize, I thought it was on the agenda tonight, so I'll try to make this quick. But I handed out two handouts here, and I suppose I don't know how to work this, but do you want me to put it up on the Elmo here? Or?
If you want to.
All right, we can try it. So the 2 things that I handed out to you, one is, yeah, I might need some, I know Mark.
That's the interesting.
All right. One is a kind of an economic indicator summary for us that we track a lot of indicators across the different communities in Sarpy, and we try to pull it all together and be a place where communities can come for that information. We also use it when we're kind of marketing the area as well. You can see the top box there. There's a lot of numbers, and I apologize for that, but if you look at the top part, there's net taxable sales. On the far right, it compares the first quarter of 2016 to the first quarter of 2015. Net taxable sales takes a while to come in, so we're always a quarter behind on this. So this is our second quarter report, but we are looking at the first quarter for net taxable sales. You can see slow, respectable growth there, I suppose, across the county, except Papillion did have a drop-off, and you guys might know more about that if there is a reason for that than I do. But Papillion did drop from 175 million last year to about 155 million this year. So that would be January through March of 2016. The rest of the county saw a small amount of growth overall, and so those are net taxable sales as reported by vendors, not necessarily indicative of sales tax receipts. So that might be something to compare there. Building permit valuations. Again, we saw a pretty good growth, especially in Papillion. If I'm looking at this, yeah, you guys went from 34 million in the second quarter of 2015 to 43 million this year. And we saw growth just about across the board. The county was down a little bit. That county is also losing ground, so it's not a complete surprise that they might have some drop there. As far as our labor force goes, this is something that we pay close attention to. We continue to see nominal growth in our labor force. We're up about 1,000 folks from last year this time, and so closing in on 91,000 for the county there. And unemployment rate ticked up a little bit, but it's still well below what we would consider full employment. As far as new business office park subdivisions, you're probably aware of Prairie Corners out there across from Werner. We've got some new businesses going in there. And obviously that's the only one that we have on there. We really have not seen a whole lot of business park development in quite a while, so it's encouraging to see this. There will be a few other lots available, I believe, once they get their anchor in there. But we've fallen behind on industrial park, business park subdivisions. Single-family housing platted. You can see this is for the second quarter. 147 in Sarpy and 2 in Gretna. I think that might actually have been 2 commercial lots out of a replat there. But as far as housing permits issued, Papillion, obviously, you guys have been doing a lot. You've got 113 in the second quarter of 2016 as compared to 46 in the second quarter of 2015. And across the board, we've seen about 60 more than we did last year across the county. So steady, healthy growth there. We keep wondering if we're going to hit a bubble here or not, but I think we haven't outpaced ourselves yet. Multifamily permits, you can see we had none in the second quarter of last year, and we had 36 this year, with some in Papillion. So we hear from our employers across the county that they have a need for more workforce housing. So we've kind of been trying to support multifamily housing where we can to get more people closer to where they work here in Sarpy County. The rest of this is kind of a year-to-date information, so I'll let you look over that on your own. Moving on to my other handout there. These are trying to do a better job of reporting on the work that we do specific to Sarpy County EDC. And so we want to report out on how close we are to hitting our goals. And so for the second quarter and the first half of 2016 has been a very productive one for us. We landed 3 projects this quarter that represent $31 million in investment. You can see that in the upper third of the sheet there. And we had 244 jobs. It brings us a total for the first half of the year of 4 landed projects with 352 jobs. 274 of those are new to Sarpy, and 147 are considered retained jobs. So those are companies that were already here, decided to stay and or expand. Looking at our pipeline down on the next level there, you can see this is the time of year where we get a lot of activity, obviously. The first quarter of the year is when things start, and then the second and third quarter is when we see a lot of new projects come in. And our pipeline is quite strong. We had 12 new opportunities this quarter. So for the first half of the year, we're at 20 new to market prospects. So those are people from outside of Sarpy. Some of them might be from the greater Omaha area, but they're from outside of Sarpy, looking at or considering a relocation or an expansion to our communities. So we're a little below pace from last year, but we had a whole lot of projects come in last year. Not a whole lot of them landed yet, anyway. But we're a little below pace, but still ahead of kind of what our traditional has been, which has been in the 30s. So we're heading for a 40 this year if we keep this pace up. We also hosted 4 prospect visits of new-to-market employers for this quarter. Some of those visits were actually return trips of folks that have been here before. So obviously our goal is always to get them here, and if they come back more than once, then we know we've got a pretty hot lead there. Breaking down our project type down there on the bottom of the sheet, you see on our new-to-market side, we opened 5 new warehouse distribution projects, as well as 2 new office or service projects, and 4 new manufacturing projects. And finally, we made 31 existing business calls on companies so far this year. So those are visits to companies that are already in Sarpy, mostly primary employers who are making or providing goods or services to people outside of, hopefully outside of the state, but definitely outside of our market. Specific to Papillion, we continue our focus on site development along Highway 50. In May, we received Go Ready certification for our 2 140-acre sites north of Cape Hart Road along Highway 50. And Go Ready certification is a recognition of a virtual shovel-ready status from the Greater Omaha Economic Development Partnership, which Mayor Black spoke of earlier. So basically it means we've done all of our due diligence that we can do on the site, and we've got it ready to market as it can be shovel-ready within 12 months. So it costs us, we put up a lot of money for that, so because we've reached this certification, the Greater Omaha Economic Development Partnership will reimburse us 2/3 of our expenses for that. So excited about that. And it pays off. We've got some interest in our sites, and so we will continue to work those projects and hopefully land them out there on 144th or Highway 50 in Capehart. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody. Oh, one other thing I should mention, Olson Associates is finishing up a sewer study for that corridor as well. It should be done here in the next couple weeks. So this is actually a design. We did a study earlier this year, and so the system will serve about 764 acres along the Highway 50 corridor. Most of it, hopefully most all of it, will be kind of business park, employment center for not just for Sarpy County, but for the Omaha region as a whole. And we worked with Gretna, Sarpy County, and the city of Omaha in an agreement to pump that wastewater over until we can figure out a larger wastewater treatment system for the Southern Ridge Platte Valley Basin there. So if we can land a project out on one of our sites, hopefully that will be enough to get the sewer put in there, and we'll open up all that ground to development. So,
Mr. Mungard.
I have a question on how to read your housing permit numbers.
okay.
Okay, looking at the single-family housing, as you said, we have 113 for Papillion. First off, this count is made in the planning jurisdiction, not just city limits, right?
Yes, it would be permits that came through your planning department
Okay.
that the city of Papillion issued.
So I take it that means there was 113 houses that somebody came in and got a permit for.
Yes.
Okay, then you move down to the multifamily, and that's where I'm a bit confused.
That would be units. So
Is a unit an individual apartment, or is it a building?
it would
What
be
is
an individual apartment or a townhouse or something that's classified as multifamily. So a place where one household could live.
So that means if Papillion had 8 in the second quarter, we added only 8 apartments. Well, I mean, in the planning stage, in the permitting stage, we added only 8 apartments, not 8 buildings, but 8 apartments. Okay,
So maybe 2 fourplexes or one building.
one building. All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you again for the partnership. We really appreciate it.
And thanks for the time. Thank you.
You bet. Any other comments from the floor? And if you'd state your name for the record when you come up.
My name's Lori Walter. I'm just wanting to know if there was a letter sent out concerning the parking that's on Jefferson Street between 3rd and 2nd Street to the homeowners and to the...
Mr. Thompson or Mr. Hoynes?
I'm not sure that we sent letters out. The construction's all taking place within city right-of-ways, and so I'm not sure. No would be the answer to your question.
Thank you.
If you have questions on the design, though, let us know and we can kind of walk through that design for you.
Yeah, we have the design already.
Okay.
I guess I would like to have input if possible. My husband has a meeting, or you've called my husband to set up a meeting sometime, so I just wanted to know if there was a letter that we missed.
Okay. No. Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? Seeing none, any council comments? A couple of updates from last week and a couple of reminders for coming up. Mr. Hoynes and I met with John Witzel, he's the president of the Sarpy County Y, and the Omaha Y has a new CEO, Chris, can't pronounce his last name, Tiaton, I believe. And we spent about an hour with them talking about the relationship between the city and the Y. Very good meeting. I think that'll be continue a good partnership with his leadership. And then they're also working on the selection of a president for the Sarpy Y as well. So they're giving us an update on that. The Papillion La Vista School Foundation Cooperation Best had their kickoff breakfast at the library. Thanks for hosting that. It's a great business partnership with the schools in the city. Mr. John Robinson, who is here, why don't you stand up, recognize you again. John is our newest planning commissioner member, and so attended the planning commission meeting this last month and swore him in, so thank you for your service. He picked a lively meeting to attend. got a good indoctrination. Appreciate your service. Mr. Hoynes and I, along with Chief Bowes, had a meeting with the Fire Department MFO. That's part of the governing body around the budget process for the Fire Department with the other two jurisdictions, La Vista and the Rural Fire District. And Sarpy County Economic Development also had a second quarter membership meeting. And then last night, I think there were a number of people there. A national night out was at Warner. And I want to thank Jessica Moore. I think she headed up that. It was a great event with a lot of people out at the Warner for National Night Out. A couple of reminders. This Friday at 10 a.m. sharp, National Cemetery dedication is going to be at Sumter. That's the newest national veteran cemetery in the nation, and that's at that Highway 50 and 370 just south of Metro Community College. But anyway, that dedication's at 10 a.m. at Sumter. VA Secretary McDonald, who is a report to the President, will be here for that. Governor Ricketts, most of our federal delegation, and if it all works out, we've got a flyover scheduled as well. So that'll be a pretty neat event at Sumter, so come out for that. Next Tuesday on the 9th, Sarpy County Chamber of Commerce has the Economic Outlook at Trinity Village from 7 to 11 in the morning. That's the annual one. If you want to attend, make sure you let Nicole know, and she can RSVP for you. And then the following Saturday on the 13th, Slide the City returns, so come out for that. That's benefiting the Downtown Business Association. They're partnering on that. Mr. Hoynes mentioned it, but just again a reminder, tomorrow night at 6 a.m. is the Lincoln Road, 6 p.m. Yeah, we're going to do an early one. 6 p.m. is the Lincoln Road meeting with the residents who have been notified, and again, that it was noticed as a public meeting, so there could be others as well. And then at 7 o'clock is the council, so if the meeting goes well, we'll just take a quick break, run the council meeting, and then break and go back to the public meeting. And then last, if you did not hear, just condolences to Wayne and Jackie Wilson. Wayne is the owner of Runza, and Jackie's on the library board. They're real involved with St. Columbakill. If you heard of the 19-year-old that was killed in the tragic accident last night with the train, that was their son. So we just want to pass condolences on. I know St. Columbakill is having a rosary tonight, and I haven't heard when they're going to have the funeral services. But they're deeply involved in the Papillion community, so just want to give them our condolences. Any other council comments? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilman Glover. Second by Councilman Gaines. Please vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
We are adjourned. I'd like to call the Tuesday, August 3rd, 2016 Papillion City Council meeting, Wednesday, August 3rd, 2016 Papillion City Council meeting to order. Mrs. Butler, would you please take the roll?
Florence, Mumgard, Gaines, Glover, Jaworski, Klug, Stubbe, Ingberg.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And do we have an affidavit of publication on file?
That is correct.
And a current copy of the Open Meetings Act is published in the back of the council chambers. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilwoman Klug. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item C1, Ordinance 1737, an ordinance to annex certain real estate to the city of Papillion, Nebraska to provide for an effective date thereof. This is the Metro Community College site and adjacent Highway 370 right-of-way. This is a public hearing, and I'll open the public hearing. Do we have any proponents? Anybody want to speak in favor? Do we have any opponents? Anybody want to speak against? Anybody neutral? I'll close the public hearing. Next is item C2, Ordinance 1738, an ordinance to change the official zoning map of the city of Papillion in accordance with Section 20532 of the Papillion Municipal Code to adopt a zoning map and to apply existing or future zoning regulations, property use regulations, building ordinances, electrical ordinances, plumbing ordinances, and all other regulatory ordinances of the city of Papillion pursuant to Nebraska Revised Statute 16901 and to provide for an effective date. Again, this is a public hearing, and I'll open the public hearing. Do we have any proponents? Anybody want to speak in favor? Do we have any opponents? Anybody want to speak against? Anybody in a neutral capacity? I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilman Jaworski. Second by Councilman Gaines. Please vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
We are adjourned. I'd like to call the Thursday, August 4th, 2016 Papillion City Council meeting to order. Mrs. Butler, would you please take the roll?
Florence, Mumgard, Gaines, Glover, Jaworski, Klug, Stube, Ingberg.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And do we have an affidavit of publication on file?
That is correct.
Current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the council chambers. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Jaworski. Second by Councilman Stube. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Item C1, Ordinance 1737, an ordinance to annex certain real estate to the city of Papillion, Nebraska, and to provide for an effective date thereof. This is the Metro Community College and adjacent Highway 370 right-of-way. Do we have a motion to approve Ordinance 1737? Motion by Councilman Ingberg. Second by Councilman Gaines. Any council discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Item C2, Ordinance 1738, an ordinance to change the official zoning map of the city of Papillion in accordance with Section 20532 of the Papillion Municipal Code to adopt a zoning map and to apply existing or future zoning regulations, property use regulations, building ordinances, electrical ordinances, plumbing ordinances, and all other regulatory ordinances of the city of Papillion pursuant to Nebraska Revised Statute 16901 and to provide for an effective date thereof. Is there a motion to approve Ordinance 1738? Motion by Councilwoman Klug. Second by Councilman Jaworski. Any council discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilman Glover.
Just one thing before you adjourn. I just want to take a moment to thank all the staff, Dan and everyone around this table, and some that aren't even here tonight, for all their hard work getting this annexation put together, and the community center getting that moving, and all the multitude of projects. Everybody's done a really good job, but I just wanted to mention that.
They're doing a ton of work. Did we have a second? Second by Councilman Gaines. Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
We are adjourned.